Micah Kelsey from Beyond the Box. A lot of you guys have been waiting for this episode to come out, and I am here to tell you we have JJ in the studio. Most of you guys are aware of his story, and he is here today to talk about probably the worst day of your life. And we're just going to touch base on it and see where it goes. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
I don't think you had a choice.
I didn't. I was getting to that part next.
Well, I'm proud of you for putting your story out there and for allowing others to see the tragedy that unfolded that you are so open about. And so tell me a little bit about Casey.
Well, to put Casey blunt, he was exactly like me. That's kind of the short version. Very upfront about things, very outgoing and outspoken. The biggest thing you didn't do is mess with family or friends, but he was also the glue that held a lot of our group together. And unfortunately, the day that he passed, a lot of our group kind of just disappeared.
So he loved to have fun.
Oh yeah, very much.
And
Yeah, very much.
And so a lot of people don't know this, but you guys had both graduated high school, and you guys both left for college.
Mm-hmm.
And you both went to the same school down in Indianapolis. And
Yeah.
then you guys were up here and was invited to this high school graduation party. And
Well,
so,
we had just graduated college.
yes.
Yeah, we had just gotten out. He graduated. I think he graduated a little bit before I did. And I graduated in January. I moved back in February. And then, yeah.
And so what did you go to school for those that don't know?
Diesel mechanics.
So you can work on anybody's diesel truck.
Pretty much anything. If it's got a motor, I'm going to mess with it.
You're not even going to mess around. You're just going to tear it apart.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the first car that you bought that you had to have.
Mm-hmm.
You remember it didn't even run. But for your 16th birthday.
It wasn't even my 16th. I think,
yeah, you were.
I think it was my 14th.
Yeah, something.
14th or 15th.
You had saved up your money, and we put some money with it, and you went and you bought this car.
It was like a $1,200 car or something like that.
Yeah, but that's not the funny part, though. The funny part is you tinkered in this car on this car for probably 2 years.
It wasn't 2 years. I want to say we bought it right when winter was getting done, and the entire summer I was outside messing with it.
Well, it had to have been there for over a year because we got a tag on it that says this is a junk car and hasn't been moved.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So they wanted it moved.
Well, because we got it not running, and the guy told me it needed one thing. I didn't. Or no, it did. It just needed an oil pump. But me not knowing what the hell I was getting into, I was like, yeah,
You can fix that.
It was a rundown piece of crap on the outside, but you pop the hood and it had all this stuff. It was big old turbo on it, like all this stuff. I think I was aiming for like 400 by the time it was done out of a little 4-cylinder. I mean, it had the side exit exhaust. I mean, it was just.
Did it ever run?
It did.
How long did?
Not long. Not long. I still don't know exactly what happened with that, but we started it up. It ran. I revved it up a few times, and it was obnoxiously loud. And I shut it down, and I remember you guys ran outside and was like, what the hell? Is it running?
Well, you remember Kyle was there.
Yeah, Kyle was there.
You blamed Kyle for killing the motor.
Yeah, because that's what I thought happened. I mean, everybody I talked to thought that's what happened. But I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. I really don't.
So your first car
Got it
literally ran for 3 seconds.
Yeah, maybe.
That's probably pushing it.
You're pushing it saying 10 seconds. I would probably give it 10 seconds at absolute max.
It never ran again.
No. And I know what I did wrong now for the second time around because somehow it jumped timing and I snapped a valve off and it impaled it in the head and I locked the motor up. So I got a new cylinder head and did all this other stuff to it. Well, I had it apart and Yeah, got it back together. Well, with those ones, the cam gears had indicators on both sides. Didn't have anything on the top and bottom. You can very easily have them 180 off. Pretty sure I had them 180 off. And that was the problem the whole time. Other than that, the car would have ran. Now that I know that, I'm not, some young 15-year-old kid that doesn't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, so the money that was spent on college paid off.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the night that Casey died. And what were you guys doing there, and where were you at?
So we were at a buddy of mine's house, and they were having a graduation party for him and his sister. Um, they were a little bit younger than we were, but Kyle was friends with him, and then I met him through him, and didn't really have a problem with him. Um, but yeah, we were just over there for a graduation party, and one thing led to another.
Did Casey want to go to the party? Did you? I mean, was he invited, or did you just invite him, or
No, he was invited.
was he
Yeah,
invited?
So to back up a little bit, we were at my house. I don't remember exactly how long it was beforehand, but we were all working on my truck over there, and the guy showed up to the house on his bike, wanted to show us his bike, and blah blah blah. Ended up hanging out with us for a little bit while we messed with the truck, trying to figure it out. Ended up being a burnt wire on an exhaust. Took like 2 weeks to figure out. But anyways, um, so he came over, was showing us the bike, and then got on the subject of a graduation party, and pretty much said, "You guys want to go?" And I was like, "Well, I got the stereo in the truck too. If you need a stereo, all we got to do is figure out what the hell's going on with it, and then you know, bring it." Yeah, that'd be great. Blah blah blah. We need one. So on and so forth. But yeah, he invited pretty much everybody that was there. It was me, Casey, Kyle, somebody else was there. I can't remember who the last person was.
You're talking about at the house when you guys were working on the
Yeah,
truck?
when we were working on the truck. And I don't remember who the last person was, but I don't think they ended up going, or they got there before us. Something, I don't know. But yeah, he invited us all of us to it. Casey was kind of weary about it. I was like, well, let's at least go for a little bit. We can hang out there for a little while. Um, he was kind of weary about it just because he didn't, to be expected. Well, these are Kyle's buddies and all the kids that he goes to school with, so we'll be fine. Blah 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 blah. So we're like, all right, we'll just go there for a few hours, and because we both had work the next day, and yeah, we ended up going to the party.
And so it was you, Kyle, and Casey. Did you guys all go together?
No, Kyle was already there. I don't remember what we were doing. That we went so late, but I know Casey ended up getting to the house, and it was like almost dark when he got there, and by the time he got to the house and we left from there, he drove my truck, and I was driving this Jeep I was messing with for somebody, and trying to figure out what was going on with it. So they let me take it for a few days, try and figure out what it was because it was so sporadic. Well, so I drove that. He drove the truck and hung out there for a few hours. And
And so you're at this party. How many people were there?
I couldn't even get the exact number. I know there was a shitload though. It wasn't a small number.
50 plus?
Oh yeah.
50 plus
Yeah.
people.
I mean, the entire class, well, at least a good majority of the class that graduated. Then there was people from other schools that showed up, and then people like me and Casey that were a little bit older. Some were younger that showed up.
So where was the party at?
It was over on,
I mean, like, was it what kind of place was it?
I was gonna say I don't want to really name names,
Yeah.
but it was out on a farm, just big piece of property. It was back in the back behind their pasture. Um, just a big open area, pretty much right
Quite a
before
ways
the
away
creek.
from the house.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you guys could do pretty much
whatever the hell we want.
whatever you
Hell,
want to do.
we we were gonna shoot guns before the party because they had a little range down by the creek, but we ended up getting there so damn late.
You
It wasn't
didn't do
gonna
it.
happen.
Um, Were you drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Who bought the booze? Did everybody just bring their own, or?
I couldn't. There's coolers in the back of the homeowner's kid's truck, and that's where I was grabbing my beer from. And
So it's pretty much people were just bringing coolers and anybody could
yeah,
drink from
pretty
them?
much whoever brought whatever. It was never designated as like a BYOB thing. Just kind of people showing up whenever.
Yeah. Was Casey drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Was he? So everybody was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
That was at that party.
That boy loved his Jack.
So let's take it to the part where you guys were leaving. When you guys decided to go home. It was the end of the night.
Mm-hmm. So we were getting ready to leave. Casey, for whatever reason, couldn't find his phone. He had lost it. We were searching all over. We searched my truck. Couldn't find the damn thing.
You were still at the party at this time?
We searched through our vehicles to try and find it. He's like, well, maybe I left it in my truck back at your house. So after we had searched for 15, 20 minutes trying to find this damn thing, we left and we went to the house and he started tearing apart his truck trying to find it. When we got there, I was calling the phone. Mind you, I had been calling it the whole time, but I think he had it on vibrate. Couldn't find it in his truck. So I'm calling the phone while we're there. Somebody back at the party answered it. And I believe it was the homeowner's daughter, which was the other one that graduated. And she said, yeah, it was underneath your truck. You know, he must have dropped it, whatever. But it's here. I got it. Like, all right, we'll be back here in a few minutes. We just got to get the trucks put back together now, and then we'll be back. So we left the house, headed back. We hopped in the Jeep. We took the Jeep back.
So he rode with you?
Yeah, he rode with me. We took the Jeep, headed back. We got over there and got the phone. We were sitting there just shooting a shit with people. And then we were leaving. When we left, somebody yelled, do a donut or something. I don't remember exactly, but so I dropped it down in a second. Well, I went out to where nobody was at, dropped it down in a second, hammered down, and it spun, and it caught like 3/4 of the way through, something like that. And the tire just bit, and over it went. And I remember sitting there like, son of a bitch. Now I got to fix this on this damn thing, and this one I got to pay for, you know? And still didn't know Casey had been pinned at this point.
Where was Casey sitting when you were doing that donut?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
But after it flipped, I'm thinking to myself, like, shit, now I got to fix this thing. So I killed the lights on the Jeep, shut the ignition off, put it in neutral, and then that's when I looked down and all I seen was the bottom half of him. And he was pinned underneath the Jeep. And he was pinned underneath the Jeep, and that's when I realized that, you know, holy shit, like what is going on? And I started to climb out of the Jeep. Well, attempted to. Seatbelt wouldn't come undone. Well, by the time I got it undone and I started climbing out of the Jeep, I want to say I got up on the top of it, or was like getting ready to climb out or something. And then that's when all the kids ran over to the Jeep and they were tipping it back up. When they tipped it back up, I got thrown. And then I don't know if I hit my head or if it was just like heat of the moment or my mind pretty much blacking out this moment. But I remember coming to and I ran around the front of the Jeep and it was just Casey on the ground and nobody else was in sight. And I ran up to him and he wasn't responding to me, wasn't doing anything. And so I called 911. I'm freaking out, trying to tell him where I'm at. I don't even know the address to the place. I'm trying to tell him based off a stop sign on 101, you know? And so I told him where it was at. Well, then the call dropped. We're out in BFE. Call dropped off. And then right after that is whenever I called you. And then the call ended up dropping with you as well after I told you it's us, that you're coming out to right now. And, well, let me back up. I got ahead of myself. When I was on the phone with 911, they were running me through CPR, and I had started doing CPR. And then that's whenever I called you, whenever the phone dropped off. Then it dropped off with you, and I just kept doing CPR. And by the time you guys got there, I'm sure I was probably covered from head to toe in his blood. You know, um, yeah. After that, then you guys took over, and
Were you surprised when you seen me show up?
a little bit, yeah. At the time, I mean, it definitely surprised me. Don't get me wrong. But who showed up? To be honest, I didn't care who did. I was just wanting. That was my priority at that moment. You know, having you show up definitely was like a holy shit moment. But
Um, I remember when I got there and I did see all the blood all over your face.
mhm.
And I immediately went to you. As my son, I wanted to fix you. I didn't really know who was on the ground at that time. I knew somebody was there, but I was more focused on you at the moment.
Mhm.
And I remember asking you, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And do you remember what you said to me?
Mhm.
You said,
That
don't worry about me. Fix Casey."
that's yeah. It sounds like something I would
You
say.
said it over and over again. And then you walked away and I started working on Casey.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting there trying to put it into perspective what had happened because we had got called to a vehicle rollover, party pinned, and when I got there was nobody pinned and
The Jeep probably didn't have much damage at all on
it
it.
didn't have any damage at all.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
so
say.
so I'm sitting there wondering how it got so bad. And I remember trying to stick a tube down Casey's throat to get him to breathe, and I could not get the tube in his throat. And I was so mad. Um, Looking back now, the roll bar had caught his chest.
Mhm.
And so I was never going to get a tube down his throat. It
No,
just wasn't.
he was gone before you guys got there. I know that now. So I think I knew it then subconsciously, but wasn't ready to accept that yet.
Yeah. Um, well, and then we called time of death. We went ahead and pronounced Casey gone.
Mhm.
And then I came over to you, and do you remember what I said?
Mhm.
I said, "What did you do?" I wasn't even thinking about what had happened or anything. All I could think of was you had blood all over you. Now Casey's gone, and you were the one that was alive. And what did you do? This is not good.
Mhm.
And you kept saying, "I messed up. I messed up." Um,
I'm sure that wasn't my words. I'm sure it was a little more vulgar. I get
yeah,
it.
I'm pretty sure it was a little bit more vulgar then too. And I was probably saying some things that probably shouldn't be said on
Yeah,
this
I'm
podcast as
sure.
well. So you and I took you away from the accident at that point. I walked you into the field and
Mhm.
we sat down in the field and we just waited for whatever it was that the detectives and the police and everybody. I mean, it looked like a movie scene when you kind of looked around because there were so many fire trucks, so many police officers. And what was running through your mind? I mean, I ask you that, and it's kind of naive to say it, or not naive, but kind of. I mean, do you remember your thoughts from that, or is everything just kind of?
After you guys took over, it gets extremely fuzzy for me on a lot of parts of it. It's just I don't know if it was the adrenaline or the I don't know what the hell about it. I can remember a good majority of like what happened. I can remember pretty much all of it before the rollover had happened. Um, and then it's like I do remember looking down, seeing him, everything leading up to all of that when you guys got there. And then afterwards, it's like, I remember at one point I was punching the ground. I don't know if that was before or after you came over. Um, the one thing I do remember is that cop. I don't remember what his name is, but I remember he pissed me off because he kept asking him if I'm okay, if I'm okay. And I'm pretty sure I told him to shut the hell up and get over to him and help him. I'm sure he didn't like that too much.
Well, but that was after EMS was there because there was no police officers on scene when we arrived.
Yeah, again, I don't.
Yeah.
I do remember that portion.
Yeah.
And then I remember getting cuffed and walked to the car and loaded up in the cop car. And then they took me to the hospital
Why did they put you in handcuffs?
because I was driving and I had told them that.
And you told them you were drinking?
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't hide it?
No, I ain't going to. Why the hell would I? Like, I screwed up and I know that. I knew that at the time. I mean, hell, apparently I was preaching it to you. You know? I mean, in my eyes, why even try and hide it?
So they take you to the hospital. And you, at this time, you knew Casey was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to the hospital and they start going through all the procedures and taking you back for a CT scan because it was an accident, you know, a motor vehicle accident. And so they wanted to do a CAT scan because they think you did hit your head when the vehicle was being moved back to its tires and you kind of flew out. We're not real sure what happened at that point. And me and Joe were there. And, you know, one of the things that I know I've told you this before, maybe I've not told you this before, but the nurse asked to talk to us. You were in the room, you were just bawling. And the nurse comes in and says, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And she pulled us aside and I'll never forget this. She goes, "Do you have guns in your house?" And Joe goes, "We do." She says, "I recommend you get them out." She says, "All too often I see friends like this where one is killed and the other one has the survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And then something bad happens and it's because of them having access to guns." And I had never thought of that. And so when we got home that morning, I don't know if you know this, but we took our guns to one of the firefighters' houses here in Woodburn.
No, I didn't know that. Honestly, that was not a thought in my mind ever.
No, but I mean, I don't think you were thinking clearly at the time either. You know, I mean,
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
So after the hospital, they did a blood draw. They took your blood so that they could test the amount of alcohol that you had in your system.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent you home because they said, "Can't do anything now. It's going to take weeks for that to come back."
Mm-hmm.
And so they sent you home. And so we drive all the way home. And where's your mind at this point? I mean, where's your mind at? What are you at this point? You probably couldn't sleep. Probably
No,
wouldn't.
not a wink. I didn't sleep at all. I know that next day. Well, I guess you could say that current day. My main priority was getting to Casey's parents' house because I wanted to be the one to tell him. I know I wasn't. You know, obviously the cops got over there quite a bit quicker than I did. But that was my priority, was getting over there just to make sure they were doing okay.
Why did you want to tell them?
Uh,
Was it just out of respect, or?
yeah, I would probably say it's more of that.
I mean, you knew his parents well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys had spent a lot of time together over there.
Oh God, yeah, I spent so much time over at their place because Casey rented. I don't know if you'd really call it rented, but his parents owned the building that was across from their house, and it was like a duplex, and he lived in one of the apartments. So we were always over there, seeing them, make us dinner, whatever. Come over and visit them, hang out. We'd go and do shit. Like, So I knew him pretty well. Um, and I don't know, I out of respect, yeah, um, that was probably part of it. I do remember saying quite often that, his dad was going to kill me
You
when
did
he
say
found
that.
out. Yeah, I do remember that. Um, I really don't I couldn't give you an answer as to why, 100% why. I don't know if it was I don't know. I just know I wanted to, and that's all I could focus on was going over to tell them something about it.
Um, that morning after you were home for a while, people started showing up at our house that had started to hear about the accident. And Casey's brother showed up. You remember that?
I think so, yeah, because I think he showed up
To
I think
get
it
the
was right after
truck.
Kyle's parents, or right after Kyle's dad and him popped at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they came to get the truck. I don't remember a whole hell of a lot of that interaction. I think his older brother, both of his older brothers, because I think his oldest brother brought his wife and kids with him too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they showed up too. It's either they showed up that day also, or I think they came with Kelly. I want to say they came with Kelly because I think they drove him, and then Kelly took.
It was Dale. Dale took the truck.
Yeah, or it was a Dale that drove it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but I remember being out there talking to them for.
I just love this podcast stuff. He does. He's very fidgety when he talks about this. I've learned that when going into schools. Um, so about 4 weeks later, there's a warrant for your arrest.
Yeah. Was it 4 weeks?
It was the 4th of July weekend, wasn't it? Or July 1st. It was July 1st.
No, it was 4th of July weekend, actually. I do remember that because I think my attorney, because we had gotten an attorney at this point because we already knew it was coming. And I think he got a hold of the prosecuting attorney about it. And because they were trying to come and haul me out from work. And I think he got a hold of the prosecuting attorney and told him, like, don't do that. This is a small town, blah, blah, blah. You're making your point.
I'll bring him in.
Yeah, he's not gonna run, and luckily they let us
They
do that, and they told us either get here by this time or you're not getting out till Monday. Well, actually, I think Monday was the 4th.
It was
So it would've
Friday.
been yeah, it was Friday when my warrant got sent out, but I think Monday was the 4th of July. So I was gonna be stuck in there till Tuesday because obviously courts ain't gonna be open on 4th of July. So
Yeah. Um, why did you decide to plead guilty? Why did you decide not to fight it?
I mean, I screwed up and I knew that. I mean, hell, everybody knew that. I mean, to me, when you screw up, own it. If you don't own it, you're just I don't want to say you're feeding something, but you're you're enabling yourself to screw up more in my eyes at least. And if you own it the first time, you ain't gonna fucking do it again.
Do you feel like the sentence that you got was fair
I think he was trying to make an example out of me personally.
because of who your parents were?
I think everything. I don't I don't necessarily think it was because of who my parents were. I mean, I'm sure that probably played a part in it. Um, but I think it was more or less because I think I was one of the first few cases years that this had happened. And I think at that time they were trying to crack down on drinking and driving. So it was like they were trying to max me out on everything. It's clearly an accident.
Yeah.
My case was cut and dry because I'm not going to argue with them. I screwed up. I admitted it. But yeah, they were trying to max me out, and they almost did. I mean, I got 4 out of 6 years, so you do the math on that.
Well, but you were never one to say that you wanted off easy either. You
No.
you never said that you didn't want to. You knew that you had screwed up, and you knew you needed to do your time.
Mhm.
And
I
then,
knew I was going to do time. There was no denying that.
yeah.
It was just a matter of how much.
Do you feel like you pleading guilty to this has helped you?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The day that Casey died is the day that my life was saved. And I'll say that wholeheartedly. Because I can tell you right now, the path I was starting to go down at that time was not a good one. And I'm not proud of that, but I've never denied that. And um, he was my wake up call that I needed. And it was a big one. And I think when that happened, and then going to prison shortly after that, I mean, all you got to do in there is either sit on your ass and throw a pity party for yourself, or do something with your time. And I did exactly that. And I came out. I mean, all I did was work, lift weights, and you know, do good behavior. Like that's all I did in there. And I was getting ready to get into like classes and stuff, and that's whenever I got transferred to work release. And I don't know, prison is what you make it. I mean, you can walk in there with a chip on your shoulder, wanting to get into doing stupid shit, and that's exactly what you're gonna get. But you can also go in there with a cool mind about it, and you want to do your time, you want to do shit to better yourself, and you want to get out. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You're probably going to have hiccups, which everybody does. I had mine. And you just deal with it and keep moving. And I think me going to prison, I don't want to say redesigned how my mind worked, but it gave me structure for the way I do things. Even though it seems like my life is very chaotic 90% of the time, which it is. But the way I handle certain situations, um, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't think it out on some things as much as I do now. And sometimes, I do come off very explosive, but that's who isn't. But now when I make decisions, if it includes me, I got a family now that I'm worried about. We're trying to do the whole stay-at-home mom thing for her. I'm making decisions for all of them. And I think if I wouldn't have had prison, I wouldn't be in this situation at all. Because for one, I wouldn't have the mindset to do it. But it gave me the mindset to set goals, have structure, and when you find that goal and you know you want it, you're going for it. And I think that's what prison and this whole situation has brought me. And I'm very proud of where I am today compared to the day that I went in, got out, whatever you want to call it. Because I set myself on a 5-year plan when I was behind bars, and I was going to be damned if anything was going to stand in my way to get there. And that's exactly what I did. And now I've got one kid, second one on the way. I've got a stepson. He's a pain in my butt, but I love him to death. What kid isn't though? Um, but yeah, a lot came of this. A lot more than what people realize. I can definitely say that.
That always affects me so deeply when you say the day Casey died is the day he saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
That just speaks volumes. Because now looking back, I miss so many signs.
Mm-hmm.
I miss so many signs with you growing up and some of the stupid stuff that you told me that you did. And I'm sure there's way more of it than what I even know.
Yeah, I'll never remember that.
But I think, as parents, and you're gonna go through this, JJ. You're gonna have kids that test your patience. You're gonna have kids that do stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about giving them the choices to make them for themselves, but understanding that at the end of that choice is is a responsibility of an action. You have to take responsibility for what you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Joe and I, we succeeded in raising you because you did take responsibility for your actions. You messed up. You made the choice. You messed up. But then at the end of the day, you took responsibility for what you had done. And I think that any parent would be proud of one of their kids that did that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I had it beat in my head a lot. I mean, not only by you and Joe, but I also had it from my dad. That was one thing that you know this as well as I do. He was an ass. I love him to death, but he was an ass. And there was a very straight and narrow way of doing things. And owning your stuff and being a man was his biggest thing. And he loved to preach that. So I heard it from a lot of different sides. So I definitely took it and ran with it.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
I am. I'm very proud of you. So now we've kind of seen you going into some schools and talking about Casey.
Mm-hmm.
And does that bring you a little bit of peace, knowing that you could be changing somebody else's life?
Yeah. I mean, as long as we make the difference on one, it's worth what I do. 'Cause it saves somebody from going on the same path I go down. Yeah, I mean, I definitely say it helps.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, when we go into schools and you talk, they listen.
Mm-hmm.
You can drop a pin in that room. They're listening to you. I think it's because you're so real. You're just JJ. You're not trying to be somebody else. You're not trying to preach to them. You're just telling them what happened to you, and hopefully they don't make the same mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me proud. It makes me proud to be your mom. So, well, thank you for coming on my podcast and telling everyone your story.
No problem.
Hopefully somebody's listening that may think twice next time. So, all right, this is Monica Kelsey from Beyond the Box with JJ's story, one of the ones that you guys have been waiting to hear. And we'll see you guys next time.